My fiancé texted coldly, "Wedding's off. Expect a call from my lawyer." I calmly replied, "As you wish." Then I quietly withdrew my name from our mortgage application. Within 48 hours, her lawyer was panicked, demanding answers. Within hours, her lawyer was freaking out, and Sabrina. I remember the exact moment my life flipped. I was in line at a grocery store holding a basket full of stupid little things like frozen lasagna and scented trash bags when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw her name. Sabrina, my fiancé, the love of my life. Or so I thought. I opened the message casually expecting something about dinner or the wedding guest list. Instead, I got punched in the gut by 8 words. "Wedding's off. Expect a call from my lawyer." That was it. No explanation. No emotion. Not even punctuation besides the period at the end. Just cold clinical dismissal like I was a business contract she decided to void. I stood there frozen. The cashier had to tell me twice that it was my turn. I mechanically paid for the groceries, drove home in silence, and sat in the driveway for 15 minutes before even going inside. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I was quiet. The only words I sent back to her were, "As you wish." I knew what that text really meant. It wasn't just the wedding that was over. It was her way of saying, "Don't contact me. My lawyer will handle everything." I was being discarded, and she thought she held all the cards, but she forgot something very important. See, Sabrina and I had just signed preliminary documents to jointly apply for a mortgage, a beautiful townhome in a newly developed area outside Seattle. She picked it. She decorated it in her head. She even told her friends it was practically hers already, but nothing was finalized. And more importantly, we weren't married yet, which meant I was still technically a free man. So before I even took off my coat that evening, I opened my laptop, logged into the bank's mortgage portal, and withdrew my application. It took 3 clicks. Just 3. And with that, the whole deal collapsed like a house of cards. Now I know what you're thinking, petty much? Maybe. But after 2 years of building a life with her, after all the sacrifices I made, including giving up a job opportunity in Chicago so we could be near her family, this wasn't just about pettiness. It was about dignity. Still, I didn't expect what happened next. Less than 48 hours later, while I was eating leftover lasagna on my couch, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a message appeared. "Hello. This is Amanda Weiss, attorney for Miss Sabrina Holden. We urgently request a callback regarding your mortgage withdrawal as this action may constitute breach of contract or financial interference. Please contact us immediately." I laughed. Urgently request. Suddenly, her lawyer was panicked. Not so cold and clinical now, were they? I didn't call back. Instead, I waited. And sure enough, more calls followed. Emails too. All with increasing desperation. They weren't expecting this. Sabrina, in her usual way, must have assumed I'd be heartbroken, maybe even begging, but I wasn't. I was done. The next day, I got a call from a mutual friend, Lauren. She sounded awkward. "Hey, did you really pull out of the house deal?" "Yep, okay." Because Sabrina's freaking out. Apparently, she already ordered furniture and told her parents they'd have a guest room. I almost said not my problem, but I bit my tongue. I didn't want to look cruel even though, frankly, I could have. Lauren hesitated before adding, "She said you were being vindictive, that you're doing this to punish her." That made me laugh out loud. I wasn't punishing her. I was just done playing the fool. What Sabrina didn't know yet and what no one else knew either was that I had started to suspect something weeks before the breakup. There were signs, late-night texts from unknown numbers, work meetings that seemed oddly timed. Whispers behind closed doors when I walked in the room. I noticed. I just didn't want to believe it. But now, with everything falling apart, I felt like I was finally seeing her clearly. And so I decided to stop reacting and start observing. Instead of replying to her lawyer or trying to salvage anything, I stayed silent. I let them spiral, let them wonder, let them squirm. And in that silence, truths began to bubble to the surface. 2 days later, I received a knock on my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. It was her father. I hadn't seen Mr. Holden since we all had dinner together a month ago when he gave a toast about how proud he was to welcome me into the family. Now he just looked tired and maybe a little embarrassed. He didn't even say hello before blurting out, "What's going on with the house?" I folded my arms and said, "I'm not buying a house with someone who tells me we're done by text and sends her lawyer to talk to me. Are you here as her representative?" His eyes darted down. "No. I'm here because she won't tell us anything. One minute, she's saying the wedding's off. The next, she's screaming about furniture invoices and credit pulls. I just want to understand what's happening." For a second, I considered telling him everything, but I didn't. I just said, "She ended it. I respected that. She can handle the consequences." He nodded slowly, then muttered something like, "I told her not to do this," and walked off. I watched him leave and a strange calm settled over me, but the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because what I didn't realize at the time was that Sabrina hadn't just blindsided me. She'd been planning something calculated, and I was about to find out exactly why she really wanted that house so badly. The first real crack in the surface came from someone I hadn't spoken to in months, Sabrina's cousin, Eric. We were never close, but we'd shared beers at a few family functions and bonded over both being outsiders in her tightly wound social circle. He DM'd me out of the blue. "Hey, man. Sorry about what happened. I didn't know how messy it was till now. Just wanted to say, you dodged a bullet." I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Appreciate it. What do you mean though?" Eric's response was instant. "I probably shouldn't say more. Just ask her about Spencer." Spencer. The name didn't register at first. It was common enough. I'd met a few spinsters through her work parties. Maybe a couple at those awful weekend wine tastings she used to drag me to, but none stood out. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Something about the way Eric phrased it, short, cautious, like he was dipping his toe in dangerous water, told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just some name. Spencer was connected to the reason she called off the wedding, and I had a pretty good idea what kind of connection that was. I went back and pulled up her Instagram. Most of her posts were private now, but one thing caught my attention: her list of tagged photos. There was one from a friend's engagement party a few weeks back. The same weekend she claimed she was sick and staying in. She wasn't in the photo, but Spencer was. Arm wrapped around her waist. Close, intimate. My stomach turned. So while I was sitting on the couch, microwaving soup and making final decisions on backsplash tiles, she was posing with some guy behind my back and pretending to have the flu. That's when I stopped feeling hurt and started feeling something else focused. I didn't just want out. I wanted clean. No ties. No debts. No fingerprints left behind. First, I contacted the mortgage company directly and made sure my withdrawal was permanent. I also forwarded them a copy of her breakup message. They told me, off the record, that her lawyer had already called twice trying to get me re-added to the application. Too late. Then I did something I hadn't done since before we were engaged. I called Elliot, my old college roommate and now a real estate attorney in Chicago. He had offered me a job a year ago when I turned down because Sabrina insisted we build roots near her family. I told him I was back on the market. He laughed and said, "It's about time." We scheduled a video call for Monday. And still, not a word from Sabrina. That was her style. Never confront directly. Always through layers, lawyers, friends, pressure. But I wasn't playing her game anymore, or so I thought. It was Sunday morning when the next bomb dropped. I woke up to 32 missed notifications, texts, calls, emails, not from her, from my bank. Apparently, an attempt had been made the night before to access our joint savings account, the one we opened strictly for wedding expenses. I'd seeded it with $10,000 from my own bonus. Money we agreed would be for catering and rental deposits. But the request was flagged as suspicious because the transaction attempted to move all of it to a private checking account under only her name. I called the bank immediately. They froze the account. And as I was on the phone with them, trying to understand what the hell was going on, my email dinged with a new message. Subject: urgent, regarding wedding funds. It was from Amanda Weiss, her lawyer. Mr. Fisher, my client is concerned about the funds held in the joint savings account for your now cancelled wedding. As she made several payments into this account, she believes she is entitled to reclaim a portion. That was a lie. She didn't pay a cent into that account. I had records. Every deposit came from me. She kept her money separate for flexibility, she always said. But now that it was over, she wanted to rob me blind and call it even. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Elliot again. He said, "You've got a paper trail, every dollar. Then you're good. But let me tell you something, man. If she's desperate enough to try that, she's not done." And he was right. That night, I received a voicemail from Sabrina herself, the first direct communication since her infamous text. Her voice was shaky, emotional, almost like she wanted to sound broken. "Hey. I didn't want it to be like this. I panicked. Okay? Things got complicated, and I didn't know how to talk to you about it. Please don't think I was trying to hurt you." I played it twice, then I deleted it. No reply. Because here's the thing. Once you show someone you're not afraid to walk away, they get scared. And Sabrina was used to control. She wasn't used to someone flipping the script on her. Monday came. I signed the new job offer from Elliot's firm. Remote to start, relocation package included if I chose to move. I was officially back in charge of my life. But Tuesday, that's when the final thread unraveled. I got another call from Lauren again. Her voice was tight like she had been crying. "You should know. Sabrina's pregnant." I froze. "She's telling everyone it's yours." I felt my heart stop. "But Spencer's been staying over at her place every night since the breakup. People are starting to talk." My voice was quiet. "Did she say how far along?" 8 weeks, supposedly. I did the math. 8 weeks ago, Sabrina was on a cleanse and wouldn't even let me touch her. Said she was resetting her body before the honeymoon. That was the last time we were intimate. 9 weeks ago, barely, which meant there was a real chance the child wasn't mine, but she was already laying the groundwork to trap me, to tie me to her with something permanent, to possibly claim paternity, maybe even child support, all while I vanished from her future mortgage. And the worst part, I knew exactly what she was going to do next, and I barely slept after Lauren's call. I lay there in the dark trying to piece it all together. The timing, the motive, the real reason she dumped me by text instead of in person, because that's what it was, wasn't it? A strategy, not a breakup. Sabrina didn't fall out of love. She was planning her escape route and controlling the narrative before I ever had a chance to speak. And now she was claiming to be pregnant with my child, except it couldn't be mine. The dates didn't match. We hadn't slept together in weeks by then. She'd been distant, cold, hell, even condescending. She called that period a pre-marriage detox, said she wanted to be pure for our wedding night. I had no reason to question it at the time. I thought she was just quirky like that. But now it was clear. She was keeping me at arm's length because she already knew she'd made a mistake, or worse, that she'd crossed a line she couldn't undo. And Spencer, he wasn't just a fling. He was the real reason. The next morning, her lawyer emailed again, this time more aggressive. "Given the ongoing circumstances, my client is considering legal action related to financial abandonment and emotional distress. She has also asked me to formally notify you of her pregnancy and your presumed parental responsibilities." Presumed. That word chilled me. They were trying to rush me, corner me, force me into a position where I either responded emotionally or made a mistake that could exploit in court. But I didn't panic. I played it smart. I contacted Elliot again and told him everything: the alleged pregnancy, the paternity questions, the financial threats. He told me to get ahead of it. Make the first legal move. You need a paper trail that proves she's manipulating the situation. So I did. That day, I hired a local attorney who specialized in family and financial law. Her name was Sherry Levin, and she was sharp, cold, even, but that's what I needed. She drafted a formal letter and sent it to Sabrina's lawyer the next morning. It said, in legal terms, I denied paternity until a verified DNA test could be performed. I would not be contributing financially or emotionally until biological confirmation. Any attempts to access joint accounts or portray me as emotionally abusive would be considered defamation and met with countersuit. She even included a clause demanding full financial disclosure of Sabrina's current assets just in case Sabrina tried to claim I owed her money from the now cancelled house purchase. I wasn't pulling punches anymore. Less than 2 hours after that email went out, my phone rang again. This time, Sabrina didn't leave a voicemail. She called again and again 6 times in one afternoon. I didn't answer, but Sherry got a call from Amanda, her lawyer, that evening. She said Sabrina was distressed and felt ambushed, that we should have handled things privately, that we were escalating a personal matter into a public one. To which Sherry replied, she made it public when she introduced legal counsel and threatened financial action. My client is simply responding. I wish I could say I felt nothing, but the truth is I felt everything. Rage, sadness, regret, mostly regret. Not because we were over, but because I ignored every red flag leading up to this. Like, how she'd refused to combine finances until the wedding, or how she always controlled the social calendar, or how every time I brought up prenups, she'd laugh and say, "Don't you trust me?" But the worst part, I think a part of me still wanted to believe this wasn't real. That maybe she was scared. That maybe Spencer was just a mistake, and she was trying to fix things. But reality has a way of punching you in the face when you're not looking. And that punch came 2 nights later from Spencer himself. It was around 10 p.m. I was home alone watching TV when I got a message on Facebook from a profile I didn't recognize. No profile picture. Just a first name, Spencer. The message read, "We should talk. I don't want to be part of whatever game she's playing." I stared at it for a long time. My hands were shaking. I finally typed back. "Talk," he replied. "She told me you two were already over. She said the wedding was called off months ago, and you were just helping her get a house out of guilt." My blood boiled. We were engaged until the day she texted me that it was off. That day, not before. He went quiet for maybe 10 minutes. Then he said, "She said you hit her." I felt the floor drop from under me. "What?" "Yeah. That's what she told me. That she was scared of you. That you had anger issues and used to break things when you were mad." I sat there stunned. I had never laid a hand on Sabrina. Never raised my voice in any threatening way. The worst we ever had were arguments about time, how she always put her friends first and scheduled our relationship like a meeting. But physical violence? Never. Not even close. "Do you believe that?" I asked. He took a while to respond. Then, "No. Not anymore." I called Sherry the next morning and told her everything. She immediately filed a protective counterbrief. Basically, a preemptive legal defense in case Sabrina tried to manufacture any abuse allegations to gain sympathy in court. This was getting darker than I ever imagined. But the final nail. That came on Friday. I got an email from the mortgage lender. Not just a generic update, a personal apology. They've been contacted again by Amanda Weiss asking if there was any way they could proceed with the home loan without me. Sabrina had attempted to fake a revised document claiming I had removed myself willingly with no financial expectation. The bank flagged it instantly because I hadn't signed anything. She had forged my name. I forwarded the email to Sherry. She was silent for 10 minutes. Then she called and said, "This is fraud. We can take this to the police." I didn't want that. Not yet. I just wanted it to end. But part of me knew this wasn't over because Sabrina was unraveling, and desperate people don't go down quietly. The week that followed felt like a blur. Every day, there was a new development, a new crisis that Sabrina and her lawyer tried to stir up. It was exhausting, but at the same time, it was satisfying to see how quickly she was losing control of everything. The more she tried to manipulate the situation, the more she exposed herself. I received another call from Lauren. This time, her voice was panicked. She was practically whispering as she spoke. "You won't believe this, but Sabrina, she's telling everyone she's miscarried." My stomach dropped. "What?" I didn't mean to shout, but it just came out. "When?" "She posted about it last night, and now everyone's sending their condolences. She's telling people she lost the baby right after the breakup." I sat there motionless, absorbing her words. The sheer audacity of it left me stunned. Was she using the miscarriage as a way to soften the betrayal? To gain sympathy and control the narrative, painting herself as the victim? Was that the move? I didn't know if she was lying or telling the truth, but I knew one thing for sure: Sabrina was losing it. She was scrambling for any way to get back into the driver's seat of this story. And now she was using a fake miscarriage as her escape. It wasn't long before Amanda, her lawyer, contacted Sherry again. This time, the tone was different. Instead of acting aggressively, they tried to sound conciliatory. "We understand that things have escalated beyond what we anticipated. Sabrina is dealing with some personal issues, and we want to avoid any further conflict." Sherry didn't let them off the hook. She reminded them of Sabrina's attempt at forgery with the mortgage and told them in no uncertain terms that if Sabrina continued down this path, there would be more than just a financial dispute. "I'm not afraid to escalate this," Sherry said firmly. "We will pursue criminal charges if necessary." I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. Sabrina had pulled so many strings behind the scenes, but now the cards were on the table, and I wasn't backing down. She had no idea what was coming. That Friday, I received a call from the bank. It wasn't just about the mortgage. It was about the fraudulent documents Sabrina had submitted. They had contacted the authorities, and the matter was now under investigation. Sabrina had crossed a line, and it was no longer just about a broken engagement. It was about criminal activity. I forwarded the email and details to Sherry. She immediately set up a meeting with the prosecutor's office. As the days passed, Sabrina's attempts to salvage her image only made things worse. Her posts on social media grew more erratic. Crying selfies, vague messages about being misunderstood, and vague references to how some people just want to destroy everything good in their life. She went from being the confident, entitled woman I'd once loved to a woman unraveling at the seams, desperately trying to cling to anything she could. I didn't respond. I refused to engage. It wasn't just about the money or the house anymore. It was about the fact that Sabrina thought she could control everything, even me. She thought she could humiliate me and walk away untouched. But the truth was, I was the one who had been in control this whole time. I didn't need to stoop to her level. I didn't need to drag out the ugliness. I just had to stand firm. The phone call that changed everything came on a Wednesday. It was Sabrina's father again, but this time, his tone was different. It wasn't the cold, formal tone of a parent who'd been trying to mediate. This time, he sounded like a man who had finally seen through his daughter's lies. "I need to apologize," he said. "I was wrong about everything. I should have known something was off. Sabrina, she's been lying to us all." It was hard to even comprehend what I was hearing. I had spent years trying to earn this man's approval, trying to prove I was good enough for his daughter, only to realize now that I was just another pawn in Sabrina's game. He told me everything. How Sabrina had been sneaking around with Spencer long before our engagement had ended. How she had fabricated the pregnancy and miscarriage stories to manipulate the people around her. How she had even borrowed money from her parents to try and keep up the charade. The whole time, I had been playing the fool. "I'm sorry," he repeated. "I'll do everything I can to make things right. We'll fix this." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to rage at him for not seeing it sooner, for enabling Sabrina. But another part of me, the part that was starting to accept the truth, knew that nothing could change the past. Nothing could take away the pain or the betrayal. But what I could do, what I was finally able to do, was walk away completely. I blocked her number. I deleted everything related to her from my life, from social media to old texts. I even returned a few of her things, the ones I knew she would miss most, and left them at her parents' house. She tried to reach out a few more times. But by then, I was so far removed from the person I had been, from the life I had built around her, that I simply didn't care anymore. And that was the hardest part of all, realizing that no matter how much I loved her once, the woman I thought she was never truly existed. She was always playing a game, and I was just one of the pieces. A year has passed since that nightmare. Sabrina's life is a mess, as far as I know. I don't care enough to keep tabs on her anymore. As for me, I've moved on. I'm rebuilding. I've bought a new place, one that's all mine. The mortgage is in my name, and for the first time in a long time, I feel free. But I will never forget the lesson I learned from all of this. Don't let someone else's manipulation define your life. I was a fool, but I won't be again.